Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to meet you all. If you got a chance to travel back in time, what would you do? Let me tell you my choice. I would travel back to the 18th century to meet my poor old friend, Beethoven. I stood in Vienna, where Beethoven lived. When I reached his home, he was playing the piano. The piece he was playing was the piano version of one of his famous compositions, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. Da, 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 da. His music was full of joy and hope. When he finished playing the last note of the piece, he smiled at me and asked, "What do you think, my friend?" It was wonderful and full of hope. Hope, son. When I began to find it difficult to hear, I saw no hope. I thought of putting an end to my life. But at the same time, I felt God's presence. Deafness had brought me to the verge of despair. But God was with me, and His music was in me. After much struggle of my life, I continued performing and writing my own music. It seemed a miracle to me. I can still hear a beat now, but it's getting worse. Maybe one day, I'll even be completely deaf. But it doesn't matter to me now, as God will never abandon me. After listening to Beethoven's words, I felt inspired. Gaining support from God and music, he overcame the most difficult challenge in his life. How about me? Unlike Beethoven, I'm not deaf, but I'm frustrated about my future. I've got a dream. I always yearn to become a great concert pianist. But in reality, I often lose in competitions, although I've put enormous efforts into it. My family supports me by giving me all their savings to buy a better piano. I can't let them down. I often ask myself, can I really be a pianist? Is it realistic? I felt lost. I even thought of giving up. But being encouraged by Beethoven's story, I found hope. If Beethoven could, why can't I overcome the anxiety? Dear all, I may not be a very successful person, but I understand one very important thing in life. I understand that difficulty can be a blessing, a challenge, or a disaster. It only depends on your own perspective. Guys, have you chosen your very own perspective?